everything you need to start your morning. This is Good Day Tampa Bay.
Is pushing the Trayvon Martin shooting case back into the headlines. Our legal expert, attorney Felix Vega, joins us this morning to talk about all of these latest developments. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Kristen. A lot going on.
Yes. Now, prosecutors turned over another batch of documents to Zimmerman's attorneys on Thursday, including a new list of evidence and witnesses. So what did you find out about it?
Well, we have it right here, and what it details is a lot of new witness statements that are going to be released on Monday. There's a huge document wave that's going to come out and be released to the public. A lot of the things that the press was seeking in terms of crime scene photos, crime scene diagrams, also 151 calls from George Zimmerman while he's been in jail are also going to be released. You're also going to see a lot of those reports that have been referenced regarding George Zimmerman calling the police in the time that he's been the neighborhood watch volunteer and the head of the neighborhood watch in the Twin Lakes subdivision. So a lot of different things are going to come out. One thing you're not going to see, autopsy photos under the Dale Earnhardt law that was passed in 2001. Those will not be released to the press or the public ever.
That'll be interesting, all of that.
Yes.
Now, after the shooting, of course, everyone in the entire country was talking about the Stand Your Ground law. This task force was put together, and it was formed to figure out what, if anything, should be done with the Stand Your Ground law itself, not really the Trayvon Martin case in particular.
Right.
So did they accomplish anything by holding this meeting?
They did, and Jennifer Carroll, the lieutenant governor, was very specific about not focusing on the Trayvon Martin case in this task force meeting. They wanted to focus on what things they want to do going forward, and we have a graphic that we can show you. It really outlines a lot of the 5 different things that they focused on were not only more clearly defined parts of the statute, not necessarily repealing it, that it needs to be applied the same way statewide, and that's been the biggest complaint, is that if it's applied in here in Hillsborough County versus Panhandle, it's different results. Also, educating the public and lawyers and law enforcement, that was a chief complaint, and once again, we in the media are in the spotlight as far as our coverage of the Stand Your Ground cases across the state. So a lot of different things that they were able to hone down and focus on what they wanted to do going forward.
Now, as you've said, Felix, there is clearly an overall misunderstanding of how and when Stand Your Ground applies on many levels. It's pretty complex.
Very complex.
So what parts of the law do you think need to be changed or clarified to fix that?
There's 2 big ones, in my opinion. One, people do not understand that Stand Your Ground doesn't apply in all cases. You can't just shoot someone and then say, oh, stand your ground. It has to be in a situation where you have the lawful right to be, and that's where there's part of the law that's called the unlawful activity, if you're engaged in unlawful activity, but then it doesn't define what that is. So you've seen Stand Your Ground applied in gang shooting cases, drug deals gone bad, incidents where people are fighting over, lawn care, for example, or something very minute. And so they need to really redefine and those specific things and really define what situations apply to. The other one is that the law contradicts itself in certain points, because Stand Your Ground is a mechanism by which a defendant can go to a judge and say, my case should be dismissed because I was standing my ground. However, in the statute, it also gives rise to the police, prosecutors, all these other entities being able to say, well, we're going to decide for ourselves what immunity is and also what Stand Your Ground applies. So they need to clarify those 2 big issues. And then again, it comes back to educating the public and educating law enforcement and the attorneys involved in these cases.
Okay. All right. It's always very interesting. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you again next hour to talk about
Jerry Sandusky. A lot of interesting things there, too.
Yep. All right. So we're going to turn things over to Lindsay now.
And now, Fox 13 meteorologist Lindsay Milbourne with your Sky Tower Omni forecast.
Good morning to you. If you have beach plans today, you are.
With everything you need to start your morning, this is Good Day Tampa Bay.
Well, Sandusky faced 10 of his accusers, all of them recounting what prosecutors call a calculated pattern of abuse over 15 years. So how will Sandusky's team respond, and will he testify next week? These are some of the questions that we have for attorney Felix Vega this morning. Good morning.
Good morning again, Kristen.
Welcome back. Now, first off, the case has moved remarkably fast for the number of charges Sandusky is facing and the number of victims. How were prosecutors able to get through their case so quickly?
Well, a lot of it depended on the judge as well, because he moved jury selection along very quickly. In 2 days, they were able to seat a jury, because a lot of people thought that because they were going to hold it in the town where Penn State's located, they wouldn't be able to seat a jury. The judge said absolutely not. I was like, it doesn't matter if you went to Penn State. But then you look at the charges like you were talking about. We can pull up our next graphic that we have. There was 52 charges leveled leveled against Jerry Sandusky. 10 victims, 15 years worth of behavior we're talking about in this case. He's looking at 17 first-degree felonies alone. A minimum of 340 years in prison is what he's facing. So they really streamlined their case. They got through their evidence, and they were rocking and rolling throughout the entire trial.
Now, Sandusky's defense team seems focused on the victims all wanting to profit from what they say happened to them and that their stories are just too similar. Is it possible, do you think, for a jury to buy into either argument?
Anything's possible for a jury to buy because once it goes to the jury, it's 50-50, as we've discussed many times. But in this case, the prosecutors were focused strictly on the pattern of behavior that's common to all these victims. And you got to remember, 10 different people, different points in time over 15 years. It all began with the Second Mile program that Jerry Sandusky was in charge of. Then it moved to this behavior that happened in working out at the gym, then the showers, then these visits to Sandusky's home, and also going to all these Penn State games. And it was also, the victims were very specific about how they felt about Jerry Sandusky, how they felt love for him, how they felt they were treated. And also he preyed on the fact that they all came from broken homes. There was lists introduced into evidence where he was targeting specific boys who didn't have families. So it was all these patterns that they put together in order to present their case as it is right now.
Now, I find this part of the story fascinating. One of the original investigators also testified that charges should have been filed by the DA after one victim's mother, alleged victim's mother, contacted police, but there's a bizarre twist there. So quickly, tell us about that.
This happened all around 1998. It centers around victim number 6, and this is the victim whose mother reported the incident to the police when her son came home after saying he was showered with Sandusky. The prosecutor in the case, DA Ray Greikar, declined to prosecute the case. Well, he mysteriously disappeared in 2005. His car was found abandoned. His laptop had been tossed in the Susquehanna River. Hard drive had been ripped out. And then he was legally declared dead just 6 months before this whole Penn State scandal broke wide open. So it was a very interesting twist to that case because he disappeared and nothing else was made of it. Next week, we're going to look for is Jerry Sandusky, whether or not he's going to testify is the other big story. He's raised this histrionic disorder defense that we've talked about this morning. And so whether he's going to have to take the stand at some point to address that histrionic disorder that he may have or may not have that led to all this behavior. We saw when he did that Rock Center interview, he fumbled through it and really incriminated himself. We can expect probably he would do the same, but that's a classic predator syndrome that they want to explain their behavior and make themselves the victim as opposed to the accused.
Wow, so it goes on and on.
A lot of good stuff coming up, so we'll definitely keep covering it.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll
Thanks,
talk to
KRISTIN.
you next time. And we're going to turn things over to Lindsay now.